Good morning, children.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
ma'am.
morning, ma'am.
We have discussed a few points about flower and inflorescence in the previous class. So we'll be learning more about flower. And we learned a term, perianth, in the previous class. What is perianth? Evelyn, what is meant by perianth?
Called calyx are not distinct together, and they are called as
If calyx and corolla, they are not distinct, then you call it as perianth. Okay, so let us continue. So this is what we saw, the last slide what we had seen. It's a reproductive, flower is a reproductive part of angiosperms. Angiosperms are the flowering plants. Hope you are remembering about the classification between angiosperms and gymnosperms. And you know angiosperms are the flowering plants. So flower is a reproductive unit or reproductive part of the angiosperm. There are 4 whorls: calyx, corolla, andrecium, gynoecium, and then we learned that these whorls or 4 whorls are arranged on the thalamus. And thalamus or receptacle is the swollen end of pedicel or the stalk with which the flower is attached to the stem. And when calyx and corolla, if we can't differentiate them or if they are not distinct, then you can call it as perianth. So next we are going to learn about the classification of flowers. Flowers can be classified based on different criteria. So we'll be analyzing a few criteria for classification of flowers. So first we are going to learn about the classification of flowers based on the sex organs present. This you had learned in class 10. And which are the sex organs? The male sex organ is stamen, or you call it as andrecium, and the female sex organ of a flower is pistil, carpel, or gynoecium. And we have unisexual and bisexual flowers. So based on the sex organs present, you can categorize flowers into unisexual and bisexual. So let's see what are unisexual flowers. When the flower is having either stamen or carpel, both will not be present in the same flower, then you call it as unisexual flower. Uni, one, sex, only one sex, or the only one sex organs are present, either male or female. And bisexual means both will be present, both stamens and anther will be, stamens and pistil or carpel will be present in the same flower. Then you can call it as bisexual. So once again, based on the sex organs present, you can classify flowers into unisexual and bisexual. Unisexual flowers means they will have either the male reproductive organ or the female reproductive organ, or else either stamen or carpel will be present. But when both these are found together in a flower, then you call it as bisexual flowers. So here you can see the picture of bisexual flower. Staminate and pistillate flower, both of them are unisexual. This you can call it as male flower. This is female flower. Male flower and female flower. So this is having pistil as well as stamen. Both are found. So then you call it as bisexual flower. Here only stamens are present. So it is a staminate or male flower. And here only pistil, no stamens. So it is a pistillate flower or a female flower. Okay. The name pistillate and staminate you don't have to learn, but these both are unisexual flowers. Examples for unisexual flowers are papaya, watermelon, all those produce unisexual flowers, whereas majority of the flowers are bisexual, like sunflower, lily, hibiscus, all those are examples for bisexual flowers where both male and female reproductive parts are present, and papaya and watermelon, they are examples for unisexual flowers. Next one, next classification. So the first classification of flowers, I hope you have understood, that is already you had learned about classification of flowers based on the presence of sex organs in class 10. Now the next criteria for classifying is the symmetry. So animals you already learned. The symmetry in animals we have already covered. Which are the different symmetry we learned? Nia, what all symmetry we learned when we learned about animals?
Bilateral symmetry.
Bilateral, then?
Asymmetry.
Asymmetry, one more.
Symmetry.
One more is?
Radial symmetry.
Very good. Radial symmetry, bilateral symmetry, and asymmetry. The same we can find in flowers also. So based on that also you can categorize flowers. Actinomorphic. Actinomorphic actually means radially symmetrical flowers. Explanation we will see. Actinomorphic are radially symmetrical flowers. You can see a division. It can be divided into two identical halves by cutting it along any plane passing through the center. Definition is same for both animals and plants. Then comes zygomorphic, same as bilaterally symmetrical. You can see in the figure, the flower can be divided into two identical halves along a particular plane or only along a particular vertical plane. And the last one, asymmetrical. You cannot divide it into two identical halves by cutting it along any plane. So both the names you should know. Only then you will be able to write the definition or explanation for that. Actinomorphic is same as radial symmetry, radially symmetrical flowers, and zygomorphic are bilaterally symmetrical flowers, and asymmetrical, same, no symmetry. Okay. Actinomorphic, you are learning so many new terms. So please write down the notes, lecture notes, so that once you write it, it will be easy for you to remember. So than listening simply, when you write it down once, it can help you to retain your memory better. So once again, the flowers can be classified into three based on their symmetry: actinomorphic, zygomorphic, and asymmetrical. Actinomorphic flowers are radially symmetrical, and zygomorphic flowers are bilaterally symmetrical, and asymmetrical, they do not show any symmetry. Let us see each one in detail. The first one is actinomorphic. Let's see the definition for that. The body or the flower can be divided into two equal halves in any radial plane passing through the center. And examples, mustard and datura. The pictures of both you can see in the figure given. See here, radial symmetry very clearly given. It should pass through the center, and passing through the center, any radial plane can cut it into two identical halves. So such flowers are said to be actinomorphic. Mustard and datura, you can see mustard flowers and datura flowers in the figure given. So once again, based on symmetry, you can classify flowers into actinomorphic, zygomorphic, and asymmetrical. The first one is actinomorphic. Actinomorphic flowers can be divided into two equal halves in any radial plane passing through the center. Examples, mustard and datura. Next one, zygomorphic. So zygomorphic flowers are those which can be divided only in a particular vertical plane passing through the center to get to identical halves. You cannot cut them in any plane. It has to be done only in a particular plane. Only then you get to identical halves. So zygomorphic flowers can be divided into two similar halves only in a particular vertical plane, whereas in radial symmetry, any radial plane passing through the center. But here, only in a particular vertical plane passing through the center, you can divide it into two equal halves. Otherwise, you will not get two identical halves if you go in some other, if you divide it in some other plane. Examples: pea and gulmohar, both the flowers you can see in the picture. Pea and gulmohar, both are examples for zygomorphic flowers. Moving on to the last one. Asymmetrical flowers, as the name suggests, it cannot be divided into two similar halves. You can't get two identical halves by cutting it along any plane. Okay, so such flowers, canna. Canna, you might be familiar seeing the picture. I think you might have understood. It's a decorative plant and it comes in different colors. Yellow, orange, red, white, different colors of canna you can find. So canna flower is an example for asymmetrical flowers. So we completed the classification of flowers based on the sex organs present and based on their symmetry. You want any point to be repeated? Any slide to be seen? No. So shall I pass on to the next slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Next is based on the number of floral appendages. How many floral appendages, petals or sepals, their number. Based on their number, you can classify flowers. So let's see how this classification. How is this classification? First one, trimerous flowers. So trimerous flowers are those flowers where the floral appendages will be in multiples of 3. So it can be 3, 6, 9, 12, like that it goes. It will be in multiples of 3. So many examples are there: daffodils, lily, orchids. So many examples are there for trimerous flowers. Floral appendages in multiples of 3. Tulipa is another example where it comes in multiples of 3. A few more examples I said. Lily is another example. Then daffodils. Next one, tetramerous. Tetra means 4. Tetramerous, here the floral appendages will be in multiples of 4. 4, 8 or 16. Like that it goes. Okay. So here you can find examples for tetramerous flower and even radish flowers. So the cabbage family, the Brassica family, from that majority of them are producing tetramerous flowers. One typical example is radish flowers. They are tetramerous where the floral appendages will be in multiples of 4. And finally, we have pendamerous. Penda means 5. It will be in multiples of 5. And here you can see a pendamerous flower. This hibiscus is, or China rose, it's a typical example for a pendamerous flower. It is not 5, I'm saying 5 or in multiples of 5, 3 or in multiples of 3, 4 or in multiples of 4. Okay. So this is the third classification of flowers we learned. So based on 3 criteria, we have classified flowers. First one was based on the sex organs present. Second one was based on their symmetry. And the third was based on the number of floral appendages. So now I would like to hear from you. Steffi, shall I start with you? How can you classify flowers on the basis of sex organs present?
Unisexual and bisexual.
Okay. What is the difference between both, Vidur?
In unisexual, the flower has only
Correct.
stamen
Or
I'm not getting.
yeah, I should make you sit in 7th standard.
Carpel.
Either carpel or stamen.
Stamen.
Then bisexual.
They have both carpel and stamen.
Very good. Now, which is the next classification we learned? Naureen, which is the next classification?
Based on symmetry.
Okay. Which are the three
It is
types of flowers? Just the names.
actinomorphic flowers,
Hmm.
zygomorphic flowers, and asymmetrical flowers.
Okay. And what are zygomorphic flowers? Lydia, zygomorphic.
Uh, can be divided by cutting it only a particular
Vertical plane passing through the center.
passing through the sender.
Okay.
Sender.
Anna, tell me what are actinomorphic flowers?
The flower can only divided into two equal halves in any radial plane.
Any radial plane passing through the
Passing through the center.
You can get two radial halves or you can get two identical halves by cutting it along any plane passing through the center. When it is passing through the center, it will be in the radial plane. Okay. Then asymmetrical, I think no need of any explanation. You cannot divide it into two identical halves by cutting it along any plane. Which is the next categorization? Malavika.
Based on floral appendages.
Okay. Which are those
Trimerous,
three?
tetramerous, and pentamerous.
Briefly, you tell me what is the difference?
Trimerous has 3 floral appendages. No.
Only 3?
Floral appendages in the
Only 3?
multiples of 3.
Yes. And tetra?
In the multiples of 4. Penta in the multiples of
Okay,
5.
good. Let us continue. Now next is based on the presence or absence of bracts. Bracts means they are reduced leaves which are found at the base of the pedicel. Already you learned what is pedicel. Pedicel is the stalk with which the flower is attached to the stem. So depending upon whether these reduced leaves, they can be in, these reduced leaves can be either in green color or they can be brightly colored. I'll show you both examples. So if bracts are present and if bracts are absent, whether they are present or absent, based on that you can classify flowers into bracteate flowers and ebracteate flowers. See here, in bracteate flowers, bracts are present. In bougainvillea, actually this is the flower. And what you see as what color is that? Magenta. Or it comes in different colors also. Bougainvillea, you can find it in different colors. These are actually their bracts, okay, which are colorful. Then, and in a rose flower, this is the bract. Here it is green in color, reduced leaves. Let me take the pen. So reduced leaves which are present at the base of the pedicel. So that is known as bract. So when bracts are present, you call such flowers as bracteate flowers. And when these are absent, sorry, here it is absent. Okay. Ebracteate means these are absent. Bracts are absent. One example is Mimosa pudica. The flowers of Mimosa pudica, they are without any bracts, so it is a ebracteate flower. So bracteate and ebracteate flowers, the difference between both is that in one bracts are present, in the other one bracts are absent. Again, next is the classification of flowers based on the position of the sex organs on the thalamus. Already you know what is thalamus now, thalamus or receptacle where the floral appendages are arranged. So how to classify them? How to classify the flowers based on their position, how the different parts of the flower are positioned, how the different whorls or how the different sex organs are positioned on the thalamus. Accordingly, you can categorize them. And these are hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous flowers. So once again we will see those three: hypogynous, perigynous, and Epigynous. Many new terms you are learning. Please see that you make some codes or some tricks to remember them. Okay, hypogynous, perigynous, epigynous. What are these three? These are the three types of flowers based on how the sex organs are arranged on the thalamus. Based on, maybe for 3 marks and all it can be asked, explain the classification of flowers based on the position of the sex organs on the thalamus. So you should know these are the three types: hypogynous, perigynous, and epigynous. So we will learn about each one now. First we will start with hypogynous flowers. And here the gynecium, you know what is gynecium? The female part, the female reproductive part. And when you say gynecium, it includes style, stigma, ovary, all the three parts. So gynecium occupies the highest position while the other parts are situated below it. The ovary is said to be superior because it is occupying the topmost position. See, all the other worlds are below this. This is occupying the topmost position. So this occupies the topmost position. All the other worlds are arranged beneath it. So you can see all these are beneath the pistil or gynecium. So in such a flower, it's having superior ovary because it is above, it's positioned above all the other floral appendages. There are 4 whorls. Out of that, ovary occupies the topmost position. Example, mustard, China rose, brinjal, all these flowers of all these plants, they come under hypogynous flowers. So once again, we learned about hypogynous flowers. Hypogynous flowers are those flowers where the pistil or the gynecium occupies the topmost position and all the other whorls are situated below it. So then you will call such an ovary as superior ovary. So hypogynous flowers have superior ovary. And examples, mustard, China rose and brinjal. Shall I proceed to the next one? Any clarification needed? Okay? Yes. I know many new terms you are learning, but please don't get confused. Any slide you want to see again or any point you want me to repeat again, please feel free to ask. Next is epigynous. Here, the margin of the thalamus, it will be growing upward. You can compare, when I'm saying you can see the figure, compare with the figure given. The margin of the thalamus grows upward and it encloses the ovary completely and it gets even fused with it. And all the other parts will be above the ovary. Once again, sometimes children, you will be asked, just a figure will be given and you will be asked to identify the type of the flower and comment on it. So just by seeing the figure given, you should be able to identify what type of flower it is. So here you can find, here is the ovary. Let me take the pen. Here is the ovary and the thalamus, it is growing upward. It is growing upward and it is enclosing the ovary inside. It is enclosing the ovary inside and it is fused with that. You can see the ovary and the thalamus. It is fused together and all the other floral appendages are above the ovary. So here the ovary is inferior. It is beneath or below all the other floral appendages. So it is inferior. Okay. And examples are guava, cucumber, and then sunflower. The ray florets means so many small flowers or florets are there. And together it makes a sunflower. So you can give examples as guava, cucumber, and sunflower. Hope you got it. Once again, we learned about hypogynous and epigynous flowers. So the differences between both, are, in the first case, we learned that in hypogynous flower, what did we learn? In hypogynous flower, the ovary is superior. Why ovary is superior? Here the gynoecium occupies the topmost position and all the other floral appendages are arranged below it. And examples include China rose, mustard and brinjal. Then we learned about epigynous flowers. In epigynous flowers, the ovary is inferior. So if in superior we said it is occupying, ovary is occupying the topmost position, or gynoecium is occupying the topmost position and all the appendages are below. And here if the ovary is inferior, then ovary should be beneath and all the appendages should be above it. The margin of the thalamus, you can find it growing upwards, enclosing the ovary and fusing with that, and all the floral appendages, all the remaining appendages will be arranged above it, and the ovary is inferior. And examples include guava, cucumber and sunflower. And now we are moving on to the last and third type under this category, perigynous flowers. And here the ovary is half inferior. In the first case, in hypogynous, ovary is superior. And in epigynous, ovary is inferior. And in perigynous, it is half inferior. Here gynoecium is situated at the center and all the other parts of the flower are located on the rim of the thalamus. And all the other parts are almost at the same level. You can find the gynoecium is situated in the center and at the rim of the thalamus. The green color, what you see is the thalamus. So at the rim of the thalamus, you can see all the other parts or the other whorls are arranged almost at the same level. Just observe the figure. Here also you can see remaining sepals, petals and stamen. All of them are arranged more or less at the same level and ovary occupies the center position. But still it is a little lower than the other appendages. So it is half inferior. It has got a center position, but all the other appendages you can find almost at the same level at the rim of the thalamus. So that is perigynous flowers. Example, plum, peach, rose, all those are having perigynous flowers. So that is about the classification of flowers based on the position of their sex organs or their sexual organs, mainly based on how these androecium, gynoecium and even other appendages are arranged. Any doubt?
Ma'am, can you explain this perigynous?
Okay. And perigynous flowers, in perigynous flowers, ovary is half inferior. Here what you can say is the gynoecium is occupying the center position. The gynoecium is occupying the center position and remaining altogether 4 whorls are there. So one, that is gynoecium, is occupying the center position. Remaining all the other 3 will be arranged on the rim of the thalamus and all the other 3 will be at the same level. So those 3 will be arranged at the same level and the ovary or the gynoecium will be located at the center, and such a type of ovary is said to be half inferior, and such a flower you call it as perigynous flowers. Hypogynous, superior ovary. Epigynous, inferior ovary. Perigynous, half inferior. Here it is occupying the center position and all the other appendages will be arranged on the rim of the thalamus almost at the same level. So such a flower, you call it as perigynous flowers. Clear, Nandana?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So before, if I teach you more before asking, then you will forget all those things, what we covered just now. So categorization of flowers, we learned based on the arrangement, based on the position of the sex organs. So you can tell 3 are there, 3 types are there. You take Each one can take any one among these and tell me the answer. Who's going to start? Who did not answer before? Already you got one chance, one round of questions we completed. Those who did not answer at that time can do it now. Yes. Children, once you answer,
Hypogynous.
1 minute, Nandana. Once you answer in the class, no, your memory retention will be better. So even after reaching, no, you're already at home, even in the evening or the next day also, if you check what you answered in the class, that will be more clear to you. That memory retention will be better because you recollected it and you repeated it. Okay, that is why I'm making you say. Otherwise, if I keep on lecturing and saying all these difficult, I know I'm just pouring so many new terms. So if I keep on lecturing, at the time when I'm explaining, you might understand. But afterwards, maybe after 1 or 2 days, nothing will be there. But by recapitulation, you can strengthen your memory. Repeated learning will definitely enhance your memory skills. That is why we are trying this out. Okay. So if you cooperate, good for who is going to get benefit? You are going to be benefited. It is, I know that time is getting lost, but I don't think it is a waste because you are getting the benefit. Yes, Nandana.
Hypogynous, the gynoecium occupies the highest position, and the rest of the parts are below it. And it is the superior ovicle.
Okay, good. Then next one, epigynous.
Epigynous, the gynoecium is like the thalamus grows higher and it covers the gynoecium,
Encloses.
encloses it, and all the others are above the gynoecium.
And what type of ovary?
Inferior ovary.
Good. Then the last one.
Perigynous, the ovary is half inferior and the other appendages are on the same level.
Where are they arranged?
On the thalamus.
Rim of the thalamus. How? At the
same level.
Same level. And where is the position of the gynoecium or ovary?
Half sunken in the thalamus.
Once again?
Half inside the thalamus.
It will be in the center. It is located in the center. Okay, we'll continue.
Ma'am,
yes.
Can you explain bracteate once again?
Okay. Bracteate and ebracteate, that was based on the presence of bracts. Bracts are certain structures which are present at the base of the flower. You want to see that slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me see, where is it? Yes. Bracteate means these structures known as bracts, when they are present in the flower, you call it as bracteate flower. And when these are absent, you call it as ebracteate. And these bracts can be either colorful or green colored, just like leaf. You can see reduced leaf-like structures. In a rose flower, you can see the bract is green in color. In bougainvillea, it is colorful. Okay, what you see as that colorful parts are actually the bracts, and that small one is the reduced flower. A small flower, white color, what you see is a real flower of bougainvillea, and remaining parts what you see are its bracts. And mimosa is an example for a flower where bracts are absent. Yes, Punya?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, this is the one which we need to start now, no? Yes, we completed this. Now we are moving on to the next one, that is parts of a flower. So already we discussed what are the different parts of a flower. So let us see. You can see a cross section of a flower over here. and in that different parts are labeled, and the enlarged view is also given over there. So in that cross section of the flower, you can find this part is the, let me take the pen. So this is the stamen. This one is the stamen, as it is already marked over there. This forms the anther, and the stalk of that is known as filament. Already it is marked there. Together we call it as stamen, and the filament together forms stamen. And then coming to the female part, carpel or gynoecium, it has got three parts: stigma, and stigma is the sticky part at the tip. Then there is an elongated part which connects stigma with the ovary, and that is style, and the style will be leading into an enlarged or a flask shaped portion. You call it as ovary. It is inside the ovary that the ovules are present. Then the brightly colored parts, the petal or the corolla. Then the green colored parts, that is sepal. Sepal are green in color. You call it as calyx also. I hope you know the function of each of these parts. Do you know the functions? What is the role of petals? Petals are brightly colored and they will attract the insects to carry out pollination. And sepals, they are green in color. You might have noticed that when a flower is in its bud stage, it will be completely enclosed by the sepals. So sepals will cover and protect the flower when it is in the bud stage. And slowly as it blooms, the sepals will be found on the base of the flower. So, but when it is in the tender stage or in the bud stage, it is protected by the sepals. Then androecium and gynoecium definitely to produce the gametes and to assist in or to carry out sexual reproduction. Okay. So that was about, so here you can find calyx and the petals or corolla. Androecium is given here. So this part forms the anther, and this is anther, and the stalk is the filament. Together we call it as androecium or stamen. Then gynoecium, it depends. Different types are there, and here you can see here will be the stigma, then the style, and then the ovary. Okay. So these are the different parts. So once again, calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. So these are the four parts of the flower. So we'll continue next class. Okay. Okay. Which are the four parts of a flower? It is easy. Vidur, which are the four parts of a flower?
Androecium,
Androecium,
gynoecium, calyx, corolla.
And what are the functions? We discussed about the functions of these floral parts. What function do calyx perform, Michael? Calyx, what is its function? Michael, unmute. You're checking the answer?
Forgot.
Forgot. Forgot. What is the function of calyx? Who will help him? Huh? Try, start. If you start, I'll help you.
Outermost part of the flower.
But what is its function? I told something about the bud and the relation between bud and calyx.
I don't know.
It is not that I don't know. I didn't listen when I was saying, isn't it? Who will tell? You will have to repeat. Rijas, what is the function of calyx?
It protects the bud.
When? It protects the bud, or it protects the flower when it is in the bud stage. Michael, you heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Repeat.
It protects the bud.
Okay, it protects the bud, or you can say it protects the flower when it is in the bud stage. And corolla includes petals. What is its function? Main function? Anna?
It's bright in color.
Brightly colored. White is brightly colored?
for that attraction of insects.
Okay, to attract the insects to carry out pollination. And andrecium and gynoecium, they help in producing what? Male and female?
Gametes.
Gametes to carry out fertilization. Okay, we'll continue next class. Already some 11th standard students have joined. 11A. What do you have next, children?
English.
English.